So I went ahead and pre-ordered the PlayStation Portal, their remote play device. It was for content, but I thought maybe this will be something that I'll wind up really digging and using. Hey, the packaging here is nice, man. My first impressions of the device, it feels freaking great in the hands. Freaking amazing. I love the PlayStation, so before anybody gets crazy with me, I'm not a hater. Like, I don't hate on the PlayStation. I don't hate on the Xbox. I don't hate on, the Nintendo Switch. Every company that's out there, they're not above criticism, man. We get to criticize anything that we see valid criticism in. And I understand the Portal is not going to be for everyone. It may have a very specific crowd who sees some use out of it. And I may not 100% fit that crowd, but I thought maybe this will deliver an experience for me that is beneficial in some way, even if I'm not using it every single day. The idea is not new, remote play. We've had this in the past, but having a dedicated handheld for this type of thing is kind of okay, I guess, right? Like I said, quality-wise, it feels nice. It looks nice. The screen is nice. There's some negatives for sure before we even get into using this thing. Like, there's no Bluetooth, so you're not going to be using, you're not going to prop this up using an external Bluetooth controller. You're not going to use your headphones. You got to use, like, Sony's own specific headphones, wireless headphones, which some of them cost more than the device itself. That's a whole other thing. It does have a headphone jack, though, so you can be wired in. You do have that. Now, when I first booted this thing up, it did take hella long to download some updates. I mean, it didn't take long to download the updates. I have fast internet, mind you. I have 1 gig internet. That's not a problem. We got that 5 gigahertz, network going, that kind of thing. I do have 2 PS5s, and I did test this on both wired connection on the PS5 and, wireless type of thing. But the installation of these updates, it took a while, man. I was like, what the hell? Can't I just turn this thing on and sync it up and use it? When I finally got to that point, though, of syncing it up to my PlayStation, that was a breeze. Like, simple. Sign into my account, ready to go, select which PlayStation I want to link to, and we're off to the races, or at least I thought, right? So I tested this multiple times over a period of a couple days. The first test was during the night. I don't know. Nobody's using my bandwidth in my house, nothing. And the experience was really, really shitty. The image quality was garbage. The latency, garbage. I was like, why did I buy this thing? I don't even care about making a video of it. Why did I buy this thing if it's going to be so garbage? But you know what? Your mileage may vary on this thing. I've seen some people have a very similar experience to me, and then some people who have had an excellent experience. What could it be? Is it the brand name of your router, your Wi-Fi? I don't know. And there is one misconception that you do have to, set aside, is this isn't something that you can only use on the same network as your PlayStation. Like, you don't have to be at home. You could be in a hotel 1,000 miles away and turn on your PS5 and, stream it, remote play. This is not a device that you only have to use in your house. That's why I was intrigued. Like, hey, if I got to travel, I could take this with me, get some Baldur's Gate 3 action up on this ish. And yeah, but my experience using it at home at first was shitty. I was like, I can't even read text on the screen. What the hell is wrong? And then I started reading things. People were like, change your system to 1080p so it doesn't have to take that 4K signal and process it, whatever. So I did that, and it was still the same experience. I changed to a different network. I could, set it up on a different network. I did that, same experience. Nothing helped. Checked my internet speed. I was good. Nothing helped. It was just a crappy experience. And then the next day I wake up and I'm going to give this thing a go again. And the experience was like, I wouldn't say 100 times better or 100% better, but it was maybe 70% better. The image quality just all of a sudden was fine. It looked good. I was surprised. Latency was better, not 100%, but playable. I was sitting there comparing it to, the PS5 on the screen, listening to the audio at the same time. The night before, I was playing RoboCop, and I could hear the audio, like, echoing because it was off. Like, on the TV, you would hear the audio first, and then, some milliseconds later, I don't know, you would hear it on the Portal. So I was like, fuck, this sucks, man. But the next morning, it just all of a sudden was pretty in sync. So I was surprised. I was ready to just throw this thing away. But having that experience, though, of one day it doesn't work to my expectations, and then the next day it does, that leads me to believe there's something here that maybe beyond my control that will dictate if this thing is going to work for me or not. Like if you're going out and you're using somebody else's Wi-Fi or whatever, is the connection going to be solid? If I couldn't have this work properly when I tested my connection, it was 100%, what other factor was there that got in the way? I don't know. I troubleshooted as much as I could at that time, and it just wasn't working no matter what I did. But then, like I said, the next day it just magically worked. So if it's kind of like a roll of the dice, if this thing is going to be functional for me, I have to wonder, like, who's really going to benefit from this? If your use case is going to be where it always works, great, but how do you know? I didn't know. And then there's the issue where, the specs behind this thing, I've heard it's just Wi-Fi 5, and then also, and I've experienced this before where it's like I'm connecting to a network, a third-party network somewhere, I don't know, anywhere, a hotel, a freaking... who knows, your mom's house, and it requires a login to put in like a password or something through a web portal, right? I've been in a cafe that they have that, you can't do that here. So it could be in certain situations where you would expect to be able to use this thing, it won't work. So yeah, $200 for this. I mean, there's other solutions. Like I said, this thing, when I first looked at it, was freaking awesome. When I held it in my hands, I love the DualSense controller. And this just feels like, yeah, I'm holding the DualSense controller. And it's not overly heavy. It's not awkward. It's not, you got baby man hands. Maybe, you got weak, limp wrists. I don't know. Maybe this won't work for you, but it's lighter than like a Steam Deck and whatnot. So it was comfortable for me. But yeah, it's just the unknowing on how it's going to perform at any given time for me. This is my personal experience. I don't know anybody else's personal experience. They're not my experiences. I can only speak on my experience. Like I said, I've seen others who've mentioned the same thing, others who've said they've not had a difficult time at all. It's just going to be out there. I'm just putting out my experience. Take it or leave it. Use it for what you want. But you don't get to agree or disagree with my experience. It's just not the way it works. It's my experience, damn it. And my experience says, I'm not digging this damn thing. I wanted to, but it's not for me. It's not for me, unfortunately. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Bye!